Oh, you got it? All right. Well, this is our controller, and you got an ATS backup switch right here. This is so you can actually isolate, the power from the pump without having to disengage power to the whole system. You guys should never have to do anything really with this. This is your transfer switch tube for your backup generators, and this is the actual power for the fire pump. He's now come out with a test button for your weekly tests. You used to have to go over to the sensing line over there, put a cup of water underneath there, pull it out for the automatic start. This time here, all you have to do is hit this button, and it'll start the pump up automatically. It'll drop the solenoid using the pressure in the sensing line and kick it right on. You got a backflow preventer right here coming into your building. I know this gets serviced every now and then. I don't really deal with servicing that. You got a clay valve, which is a pressure reducing valve coming in. Then you got your OS and Y. And then you got your tank fill right there. That's what fills it, sucks in from the tank. That's your system will pump into the tank, and they come into the pump. So you got two feeds into your pump at the same time. So you're pulling the pressure from the tank before the city. And then your express fill is right there. That 4-inch going up goes into the top of the tank and fills it up on the float. And then you got a normally drain your normal fill right here. This 2-inch line. That's what has the float attached to it at the top. Your sight glass is right there for the tank. That tells you the level of your tank.
Now, determine the sight glass. So if I'm in the center of the glass, at the top of the tank, or is that the middle one?
Yeah. If you have a full sight glass, it'll tell you the exact level, but that one there just shows you when you're above the fill. See, right now it's below the top of below the bottom of the express fill right there. So you know you're at the top of the tank. If it was all the way up there, you're actually going into your overflow.
So if I overflow, where's it going?
It goes to the drain outside from the sump. Yeah.
Now, if normal flow is from the city, is going to the tank back to the pump?
Yeah. It comes in through here. Your water flow comes in, goes through, goes up through there, and into the tank.
But this is normally closed.
Yeah, that's the express fill. This is when you're filling it. This is where it's filled all the time.
The 2-inch line?
Oh,
but when you have to fill it after you drain it, you can open this. If you ever have to drain your tank.
Okay.
That's the quick fill. That's your maintenance fill.
Oh, okay. So that's
that one's always open.
Always open.
And this drain?
Yeah. That's your drain tank. If you wanted to drain the tank all the way down to go in there, you open that one up. The one at the very top is an extra overflow, but that would never handle it. So if you see water coming out of there, you know you got to shut off that and that. A lot of jobs don't have this.
The express fill.
Yeah, the express fill. You guys got lucky with this one. This one here is how you just fill the circuit fast. Usually that's what you got. This one will always remain open. This one will always remain open. You got a test loop right here. And this is where you can also test the atmosphere into your tank. We added this onto this, so you don't have to run hoses all over your roof to do your atmospheric test. You just open up this valve right here when you're doing your fire pump test and blow the water straight back into the tank. So you can recycle it. Your bypass line is right there. That one goes up and ties right into the city with city pressure. So if you had to remove your pump for some reason, for maintenance or whatever, you can still have city water going into your building. All fire pumps have that. It's just a bypass line. You have a jockey pump in the back over there. That's your maintenance device to maintain your pressure out here. Out here you sit at 175 to 185 psi, depending if they ran a pump or not. If they ran a pump, it's up to 85. If they didn't, it's around 175. The pump was kicked off a couple of days ago. That's why it's sitting at 185.
Where does it come on?
We filled it out. We fired it up just to make sure everything's good to go.
So this bypass line, is that permanently feeding the lower floors?
No, it's the whole building. See, your pump goes in. When your pump comes in, the water comes in.
Yep.
It goes through, it goes up and there. This ties right into it. It's got a check valve so it can't backfeed into the city. So it just feeds in right after the pump.
So we're just adding that 90 PSI that we have coming in, just kind of help cushion it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it has a check valve, so it has 185 against it, so it's never going to feed in unless you drop all the pressure. Then it'll fill up.
If we do have a slow leak, what's the low cut?
Pump will kick on about, I think it's set at once. I will test it here in a minute. I just did 3 others. I'm trying to remember which one they were. This one here, I think it's at 170 is when it kicks on. The jockey pump maintains 10 to 15 volts. Yeah, you can kick this off if you got everything in the test.
And fire department, where do they come in? They come in at
No.
pre-pump or after pump?
Pre-pump. I mean after pump.
After pump.
They're tied in over there.
Okay.
This line here goes all the way to the FBC's and the riser, that one that goes out.
Uh-huh.
We even drew arrows on it, so
Yep.
you know, you guys know which way flow's going. So that leads into the building. That's your main feed for the whole building, the 6-inch run. The 3-inch line there is your drain line. That's from all the risers. That's what will keep coming down to the building.
Okay.
So this one goes down the stairs, goes down the hallway, cuts into that stairwell, cuts across that hallway, and goes up the other stairwell. And so you got 2 risers on this building that feed each floor. So if you have a leak or somebody sets the head off, you have to shut both risers. Otherwise, you'll continuously get water because it's a looped system all the way up, all floors. We'll go look at those in a little bit. You're going to have leaking from your packing. You know, everybody knows. You know, your packing cups right here.
Drip a second.
They're piped out there. Yep. If it's not leaking or excessively leaking, you know, tighten up the packing if it's excessively. If it's not,
Yeah.
loosen it up a little
And
bit.
ask me before you tighten or
Yeah.
adjust the packing, please.
And if you have questions-
What would you consider excessive? 1 second?
If it looks like a little faucet running a little bit, you know, like a little
Yeah.
stream, but not a.
Like 1 second is good, and then feel okay?
That means your packing is tightened up.
Little more is better than little less.
Yeah. But you want, like you said, about a drip a second.
Okay.
It keeps the packing nice and moved up. Just had a job over at the Maple Street Jail. One of the inmates set off one of the heads on the 2nd floor, and the fire department came out and closed off the system, then shut the backflow preventer off outside, and left the pump running for 2 hours dry. And the packing was burned up on the outer one completely. It filled the actual drip line. Luckily, they didn't burn the pump up. There was enough residual water in there to keep it from messing up the impeller. The jockey pump also survived, which I was surprised because when that runs without water, it burns up like that. But yeah, they're pretty durable pumps. You know, same pump. Seen them run for a week at a Costco. They let it run for a week, and it was turning the water to steam inside the inside the pump.
Is it an automatic run and it just didn't
Yeah,
turn
what
off?
they do is they set it for like yours is set for 10-minute intervals. It'll run for 10 minutes, and then it'll start to power down. And if it senses a pressure loss, it'll kick back on. If it doesn't, it just stops and goes into reset mode. Sometimes fire departments want them to run till destruction. So the one at Maple Street is set to run till destruction. So it will never turn off until you manually turn it off.
So even in the actual fire, this thing is so 10 minutes there.
10 minutes in, it's going to start, you'll see the wind up and down phase. It doesn't lose pressure, it just starts winding down, and then a second later it kicks right back down.
And that's just to extend the life of the motor pump.
Yeah.
And then does it go another full 10 minutes or
Yep.
is it?
It'll keep, every 10 minutes
Every
it'll
10,
cycle down
okay.
until somebody turns it off or it sets its pressures back to restore. You've got an aerator cup every now and then. If you ever drain it all the way down, you'll hear it coming out of this one. And we don't have another one on here. Usually there's one on the test lift too. This one they put a bleeder line on the top. These valves here will always remain closed unless you're doing your testing. Yeah, that's what the Venturi's for. So you don't ever really have to flow outside and run hoses. That's why you have this loop in there. It does everything the same. Any questions on anything in here that you guys need? Want to know about?
Just another quick clarification. The primary source of water, is it both the city and the tank? Or
The
just
tank is your
first?
primary because it's going to pull out of there. It's
Okay.
pumping into the city, but it has more pressure than the city is.
Okay.
Because it's stacked. So that's going to be your fastest flow.
Okay,
That valve keeps the water lower.
then the tank. Okay, cool.
How big is that tank? How much is it?
15,000 gallons.
15,000?
I didn't even look at this.
UC, we had 250 50,000 gravity, two of them. There's some pressure.
Most time you put tanks in here just so you're not sucking the city dry. You put a lot of strain on the city pressure. That's why they do
Be
it.
careful with that sight lens.
Makes sense, because if you have 4 fires going at the same time, and everyone's pulling city.
And if you have a fire like early in the morning or where everybody's taking showers, the city pressure drops. Oh, it does. I mean, we've done tests at 6 o'clock in the morning and pulled the city down to -4. You know, and then you have a potential of collapsing underground. So you got to stop doing that.
What's the regulator set at? Like 40 or 50 psi?
For that side is what, about 90, 88,
Yeah,
90?
this one here, I think.
Right,
is
but what's-
65? I think is what it's
65?
Yeah. I'm not sure on it.
But
I
we're
know-
sitting at
I know
55 in the
I'm
pump.
Come on, man, we need gauges.
Yeah, gauges
Engineers
right there.
need to know over here.
Yeah,
Right there.
which gauge?
That's your city pressure
Yeah,
gauge.
did you see how the gauge
No,
bubbled out?
that's not the city pressure. That's our line pressure.
Yeah, that's the city side of the pump. That's before you come through.
But
That's
After the
system
regulator
side.
though, right?
sorry.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah, after the regulator. So the regulator's got to be set below this number because
No,
our
that's
city
what-
pressure's
That's what's
90.
letting it go through. That's what's letting it go. That's,
Right.
That's the pressure it's letting it go. So it's set for whatever that is right
Okay, because you said earlier that was set
there.
lower than
has
the
more
tank pressure.
No, the tank has more pressure than that.
So why now, which gauge you tell us, you know, on the line pressure?
Right behind you,
The LED.
185.
185, and then
That's
which
the
one?
system. That's
This
past
one?
that. That's
This-
past that.
Okay.
It's 185 from here on.
Oh.
You know what that sensor's at?
That, huh?
You know what that sensor's at for that?
That's the jockey pump. That's the pressure switches underneath there with the sensing lines. See, that's where.
Oh, I see, I got
See
it.
the sensing line
Yeah.
right there? That's as tight as it is.
And what's this by here?
That'll show how much water's going through the guy.
Oh, okay. And then the pump by itself, no pressure, right? The pump shaft?
Yeah, inside, just the 60 pounds.
That is the city, right?
55.
That's what's coming in here.
So from 55 coming down, that thing's got to be set lower.
I see what you're trying to say. If this tank is higher than the city, that has to be below 60 because the tank's
Right.
giving us 60.
What this valve does is it keeps the pressure the same so that you have a steady flow of water into your system. If you have areas like Monterey, the water goes from like 85 to 110, back to 85, so you never have a steady flow. That's a check valve and a pressure reducing valve. So
Right.
it keeps the water past it the same. So you don't have to worry about, you know, different fluctuations in pressures and stuff like that. And that's what the tanks helps for too. It keeps it all the same.
Right. Okay. I just was trying to grasp when you said that the tank was going to supply pressure before
No,
the
the
city
city
does.
will have a little bit more than the city because
Right.
it's all stacked.
Right.
You just got a straight flow in from the city pressure.
Right.
Why are you going to be
And usually-
down adjusting it?
No,
No.
I'm not going to be the tweaker.
No,
You always had a
no.
tweaker on one group, right?
We usually deal with like million-gallon tanks and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so you have a hell of
Right.
a lot more pressure than
Right.
these little ones like this. These are just buffers from the city.
That's just one big tank?
Huh?
Just one big tank?
Yeah. CHCF prison, they got 2 1 million tanks and two 250,000 gallon pumps.
So, have you been in the tank?
Yeah, prisoners set off a lot of fires.
Or is it just
Yeah,
big
shout
When I was
Lock
in there,
up.
wasn't, it's all concrete with the
Big
ladder
concrete?
low.
Okay.
And they put the matting in there, the lining to give waterproofing. And then you
No,
got your
no need to
flavor.
maintain on the tank, right?
Shouldn't have to do anything in there. Shouldn't have to do anything in there.
Okay. I got a good grasp.
Hopefully
You
no
guys
one,
have any other
nobody
questions?
breaks that sight glass.
Yeah, right.
The
That's
only
like
problem
us.
you ever have in there is the flow. You know, like if you got water coming over here, that would be the only thing that would stick, would be the float sticks.
Can you show us how to access that?
That's when that manhole cover in front of
Yeah,
the
pull that off, it's just, it looks like a toilet float. Pull it up and pull it down like it's stuck.
that block
Rarely
in front of the ED.
No maintenance involved with that float at all, no greasing
That's
points
the
or?
black one.
Not that I know of.
And we're gonna spray
They only
paint it
do it when
red.
they see a little bit of
That's
water drip, that's it.
Fire pump tank.
When they do their 5 years out here, they'll come and look at stuff like that. too.
Okay.
And that- Some places do it annually. It depends on the location, who's doing it. Hospitals tend to have different policies.
Right.
Like, I heard now that you guys have to be trained with pumps. You have to take a class to get
Oh,
Get
absolutely,
your license.
yeah.
So 2 years ago, they didn't have to do that. Anybody, I can come in and show you how to do it now. See that? Now they're starting to enforce that more. Do a pump class and get your license for it.
So next month, our utilities gonna have this painted up nice and pretty, right? Nice and shiny red.
Well, learn how to turn the pump off,
Yeah.
and you turn it off. Who wants to do it?
Let's run it.
Turning your pump off, you know, you always gotta remember, you wanna turn off the backup first. Otherwise, your backup generator should kick on. So when you're shutting your pump down for maintenance, whatever, always turn this one off. And then you can turn off the main power to your pump. Now the pump's killed. You still got power going through the APS though. Now if you want to turn it on, you just do the exact opposite. Turn the power on. Wait for the screen to kick on. Power available. Now you're all set back on. Some places put little stickers up here saying first on, first off, you know, first on, first off. So they have an idea of what they're doing.
First off, first on, first off,
Yeah,
first on.
It helps.
Anything other than that's gonna,
Well, if you turn this one off, your backup generators go on, and I don't know if they're set to run for 5 minutes to 30 minutes, and then
right.
most of the time you can't shut them off without letting them run their cycle. This pump does have, like I said, the weekly test button. So before you'd have to come over here and you'd have to put a bucket underneath the sensing line right here, drain the pressure off to kick it on. Now all you have to do is hit the button. Automatic start.
So let me ask this, and how do I determine when RX start what my drop is on my jockey pump?
Well, the jockey pump ain't gonna show a drop.
Okay.
If you wanna do a drop on the jockey pump to start it, all you have to do is, here's your start. Right now, you're gonna sit up at quite a bit of pressure, so. You can also, if you just have to want to run it, you can just hit the, to make sure it's running quiet all the time.
Well, what do you turn on?
High pressure.
If anybody wants to go ahead and start it up or turn it off, go ahead. Anybody
Come
want
on,
to try
guys.
it?
There's a chance. We don't own it yet. Do whatever you want.
Only one time.
So when you start it, you just tap on the test button?
Yep, that drops the still really.
And when you stop, you have to hold this? You hold it or just like that?
That's the wind down,
Now,
so.
let me ask this. How do we know we're not overpressurizing our system and popping a
Because it's got a
weekend?
PRV on it, that's what this is blowing out, the pressure cord right here.
Okay, cool.
And you got PRVs on all the risers, so. You can't.
We don't have to run a bypass insurance.
No.
Shit, I'll do it. I'll do the test.
And like I said, when you come do your testing for the pump certification, right through the Venturi, the pump rep can come out, or you can have a 5-year company, you know, Dayworks company come out and do it for you.
So it's normal to get this much water spray off the bushings?
Yeah. That's all coming off the packing and that.
Right.
That emergency stop, you gotta, if you do use that, do you have to create any alarms, or you just pop it back out, or?
Yeah, the emergency stop, that there, it stops it like that.
No wind down or
There's
nothing?
no wind down, it goes through the stop. That's for an emergency. Say you broke a water line right here, or something, hit under here and stop the water. Your emergency run procedures here, that's if it's not starting up, you pull that and slam the contacts right into automatic start. So it'll kick on if you have power. This here is last resort. You know,
Okay.
you know,
How does that operate?
pull it out and turn it to the on position, and it
Okay.
slams the contacts together, it grinds them together, so it kicks right on.
I see two on, so if you turn it clockwise, does that
Either
bring
way-
it off an emergency?
Either way, you can just pull it,
It doesn't matter, it
Just turn
doesn't
it,
choose
pull and
which
turn,
side?
that's it, yep. That's like I said, that's last ditch. I don't ever screw with that, I let the pump rep do it because it's his pump. He tested it one time, I think, I don't know if, has anybody here during the, he did it during the pumps commissioning. He pulled it and started it for him. I don't like ever touching that one. You could potentially damage something.
Contact stick, anything.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, an arc. Quick enough.
So when you press test, you gotta manually stop it?
No, you don't, you can let it run for 10 minutes.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about when you press start? Will it give you that 10 minutes?
10 minutes too.
Oh, so it's 10 minutes?
Yeah, but the start, if you just hit start, you're not doing the sensing line trip. You're not draining the pressure off the solenoid.
Okay.
See, this is what we used to do over here. Drain the water into a cup and you let it get down to its pressure and you go. That automatically pops the solenoid. So it released all the pressure in the line that's keeping it from going.
So the old days you had a bucket and you're looking up at the
Yeah.
gauge and you're drifting.
But no matter what, that 10 minutes is there?
Yeah. This one here I'm pretty sure was set to the 10 minutes.
Okay.
Does
I
this
think-
store
huh?
any of the information in the controller, like
Yeah.
pressure drop on it so we can read it after the fact?
Yeah. You can pull all that up in the menu. This one here, I don't think prints out the ticket. I think this one also feeds straight to your alarm panel.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
alarm panel will tell you too when it started, when it turned off, how long it ran.
So all that should have been on the print then, right? You
Yeah.
powering
Right.
it off and, okay. We'll check for that. Make sure, yeah.
See, they didn't have that working when we did the pump test.
So you could, okay.
They didn't have it printed out, so we just did everything in here. We did the 10-minute cycles.
Right.
We did the 15 starts and 15 stops under normal and emergency power, you know, did all that stuff with this pump.
It's too easy. What
Yeah.
am I missing?
They are easy.
What am I missing?
Like I say, anybody else wants to start it up or do anything, now's your time.
Yep. Come on, apprentice, put it in test mode.
Yeah, if you want to turn the power off, you know. Yeah, there you go. Turn that one off.
Now hit the start button.
Now you can work on the motor, right?
Well, it won't start.
No,
It's
I'll
off.
start.
You sure? Now what sequence to go back on power?
No, not, let it.
We gotta wait
Yeah.
to boot.
Or when you hear that sound, you can just toss it back.
Power of it,
Is
so
it-
you look for the power.
Don't let that boot up. What would happen, Steve? If you had to guess.
Emergency generator will come on.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
It might not,
Might,
it might,
yeah.
but just let that kick on, tells you it's power, the chime is telling you, hey, emergency power is not on, or you have no backup power. Then you turn it on and it'll say system clear. They got so many different panels now. Diesel one is way different. We're working now for the last 4 days.
So much nice.
Well, it's pretty easy now too. They got the test buttons and everything. You don't have to go through all that, but you have to do it low fuel alarms and all that.
Tanks.
So if you need to work on the jockey pump, just off.
Yeah, Dr. Pump, you just turn it off. Goes it. Got two little valves over there, so you nice like the pressure for them. If you ever want to run the pump, you can also shut the this valve right here, and it keeps the systems from getting pressurized up to 200 pounds. Yeah. But like I said, they all got PRVs on, and that's getting pressured up in the basement to 200. It's a can pounds.
He's already approving these various all that other stuff. Right, now annually, you suggest we one square or?
What's your guys' policy? See, you guys have, some hospitals don't do the weekly test, they do monthly. Some do bi-monthly, some do quarterly.
We just gonna go with what the manufacturer recommended, and just put that in their PMs over there, you know, semi-annual, annual, we go with you.
I always like running once a month. I think the weekly's kind of excessive. You know, maybe a couple times a month if you're paranoid about, you know, like erosion and stuff like that. But pretty damn durable pumps.
And if there's annual service, typically if the packing isn't dry, they just run.
Diesels I would recommend more than weekly. You know, anytime you get the fuel lines, you can get batteries, you know, things like that. But these, you know, if you got power to the building, it's pretty much going to kick off. Everything's monitored for, you know, closed or open. So, you know, if somebody closes the OS and Y, that would be your biggest concern. You know, why is the water off to my pump?
What about this on the van? How often do you think we should do that?
Yearly or something.
I mean,
I've seen them sit for 10
sometimes-
years and nobody can touch them, and they kick right on. You know, but
I just don't want to add too much.
like I said, hospitals are different, different. I've never seen a standard yet. I would go, like I say, greasing the bearings and stuff once a year. That's how I would.
So pre-action, where's pre-action come off this line?
6 inch, keeps the
Down low?
whole building. And it's, the pre-action's at the other end of the corridor.
Pre-action will trigger fire pump.
Any water flow, any drop in pressure, you can do that. If you go open up your drain a little bit and you lose the pressure, the jockey pump will keep up for a while, but it's only designed to keep up for small pressure losses. If you half-inch opening, it'll go off.
Will there be an issue, MRI, right? Pre-action trips for MRI. Pump comes in, pressurizing.
Well, pre-action trips on the MRI, you have to have air loss too. So if the smoke trips and the solenoid pops, you'll get the priming line flowing. There's a chance that might not kick it off. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on how open the priming line is. Yeah. If somebody pops a head in there, you're going to get all the air out, but the smoke still hasn't gone off, so the solenoid's not going to pop, so you're going to get no water flow.
Okay.
So you have to have both of them to go off before you need water flow.
Once the water starts flowing,
Once the water
is
starts
there
flowing,
any issue of pressurizing the rest of the system?
no, I just pressurized it right now.
Same. PRVs will blow off on other corners.
I just did that now. I put it from 185 to 200.
You saw that, I know
So,
those.
if you don't want to do that, I've done it so many times here. If you don't want to pressurize the system like for testing, just close that valve right there. It isolates the system. And then all the pressurization is right here. But you know, we've tested this at 240 pounds.
No, but
So,
man,
you know.
pop a head somehow.
Heads don't pop like that.
Not anymore.
No, heads, they're not fusible link, they're glass bulbs, and the old type ones, it's insulation. You know, you guys used to use channel locks and everything else, and you just bar it a little bit. We use the head wrenches that are inside the box there. Most of these are sockets. Most of the heads you have in here are installed like that.
Gotcha.
So they actually fit inside the cup.
So when we drain the floor,
Yeah.
we can go full open, because right now we're just cracking it.
No, always do that.
Okay.
I don't trust anything.
All right.
You know.
I don't want to
When
be-
you swing old water hammers, you hit a bit wrong, you know, boom, it's like a brace, you know, anything like that.
Good practice still.
Yeah, always close, open your valves when you get to like 60, 70 pounds and you hear the water stop, then you can open all the way up, jump. I've seen maintenance guys on job and spin the wheel, you know.
Yeah, we don't,
And you hear the
yeah,
system,
man.
you see us, Parnassus does that, you know, the guy just cranks
What?
that OS and Y.
What was that, UC Parnassus?
Now fire pump.
They don't have a fire pump.
No, gravity.
I thought they did. They have 175 pounds on that system.
200,000 plus.
Is that just from the
Gravity.
head build?
Yeah,
All
he
them
opened
by
that
the
system up and go,
chancellors.
hey, you need to go turn your pump off. We don't got a pump. He went and I just watched that gauge go rid of
Look at the chancellors have a big old tank
Holy
full of water.
Yeah, you gotta.
It's a steep incline too, it's coming down.
Alright,
That's how I used to tell all the new guys, you know, when they first started, go find the water, the fire pump, tell me where it's at. Let them roam the building, because then they learn the building looking for it, right?
it's just good to fill it slow. It takes an extra couple minutes, but you know, you never have a catastrophic failure. Especially when systems sit for a long time.
So, and each floor, if we have to drain a floor, we just close them
both
off on
valves.
each side and
Yeah.
drain them off. Okay.
Anybody got any questions? No.
No, this is good. If you want to just walk them through, closing stairwell valve real quick, and I think that's it. Unless you guys want to, any other questions? Rich, real quick, walk through the lineup. Show them. Where does it come in? Where's the feed? 5 minutes.
Your water feed comes in from the top corner there, comes down through the backflow
Go
preventer.
slower, go slower.
Water feed starts up there, comes down, goes to the backflow preventer, comes in. This is the pressure regulator and a check valve, which will lower the pressure to what is below the tank pressure. And then you have a 2-inch feed coming off the water that will fill the tank. And then you have the water is going to come out of the tank. Let's see, it comes out of the tank through here, right through the bottom, and it comes through the T-valve along with city pressure, whatever. It keeps it from getting too high or too low, gives it a steady flow. It'll go through the fire pump, it'll go up, and then into the building to the left. During our yearly test, we'll isolate and cycle the pump this way by opening this valve, opening that valve, closing that valve. And that's pretty much the system.
How do I quickly fill the storage tank?
If you want to quickly fill the storage tank, you're going to open the this valve right here, and that's the quick fill.
And how do you know when it's full?
You got the sight glass up there that is got a water. They actually have a water line there to give you, but basically about the middle of the sight glass should be full. And whenever you're doing any of this, you got to take the system offline, because you're going to trip a switch and it's going to set up an alarm.
The cyclize, any chance of leak? It's like on.
No, I think we're gonna label it a little better up there.
It would have a money if leak, it's like a lot.
Yeah, there's going to be a little water in the built-in room.
How big's the storage tank, Rich?
198.
He'd say, I think it was like 15,000 gallons.
No, Dave said that.
Dave said that.
Jockey pump to kick off the fire pump, you'd have to go through a ride.
And the access for that is out in front of you.
System.
Fire department pumps into the building. Is it which side of the fire pump?
It's the hose pump.
What's that?
Yeah, see, that's why.
That valve is your drain, where you drain for the tank.
Where? Which one?
That valve down there is the drain for the tank.
That's how you get an automatic.
When would you drain the tank? Well, why would you drain it?
Service, check the flow. Flow's damaged, we gotta get in and repair it.
Or AB's vacuuming and he hits that cycle.
You should order him some fins and a face mask so when he goes into the tank.
I think you need to get scuba certified. Do they have that at the hall? Do they have that class at the hall?
I got mine today. We gotta work hard to be an apprentice. Utility, there's gonna be some crappy jobs coming up. You better work hard, AB.
Anything else? Pre-action system. This is your supply, and then your discharge goes out right up there. So,
This doesn't require any testing at all?
yeah, this does too. It requires testing. When you do a test on this, usually it's going to be a sprinkler contractor is going to come out and do your 5 years on this. The only thing you guys really got to worry about on here is the low air pressure and the flow. If you get a low air pressure alarm, just come over here and make sure the compressor's on, make sure nothing's leaking. You got the priming lines, and you got this one here doesn't have all the way. Yeah, it is.
Right there
It'll
at the
tell you
bottom.
normally open, closed, your hydrostatic testing lines, your inlets. Some of them don't say that.
What do you use compressed air for in this?
All the system from that side up is filled with air. So
Don't worry about that damn door.
it's full of air. So in your data room, which is right there, if say you were up there and you pop one in the head, you're just going to let air go. No water is going to flow. The water's being held back right here by the solenoid, which is
Oh, okay.
solenoid. Right here. So the solenoid is going to release the clapper in there to let the water go. So when the smoke detector goes off, it releases the solenoid. When you break ahead, it releases the air.
Is that what that compressor is on the boiler room? That little...
Oh, it's right here. The compressor's right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this fills up the system right here.
Where's your pressure for that?
Huh?
What's, you know, what is it?
The air gauge is on the front.
These door opens like
You watch when you close this door, it'll tell you everything. Air pressure, that's your priming line, that's the water pressure that's in your priming line, and that's the water pressure at your supply.
So that's your air pressure in the pipe right now?
It's in 20 pounds.
Okay. What's the drop before it goes an alarm?
I think this one is at 15. Then you get a water flow or a low air pressure. It's like 5 pounds, not water flow.
How much time to evacuate the air to flow water?
Well, you won't flow water until the smoke goes off. The smoke releases the solenoid. You'll just get a low air alarm. And then you might get the priming line will release the intermediate chamber, so you'll get a little bit of water coming through there because it wants to keep priming it.
What is this system? I'm sorry.
Huh?
I don't know if you said it already, but
Oh,
what
this
is this?
system's right on the other side. It's where your data room is, and across the hall to where that
MRI.
MRI is.
This is the
Pre-action.
pre-action system.
So, like for testing, if you wanted to test it, you can close this one here. That's telling you that the valve's closed. All right, so now, if you wanted to
The 5172.
drain some of the air off of it, you can drain it through here. Pressure kicked
Yeah, I
on.
saw that.
So that'll tell you how far it'll go. So down to about 15. So that's it. Now, if you wanted to do a full trip test, you'd have to have somebody in there with a smoke detector. You'd hear the solenoid pop, you'd hear it in here, and then it's priming the valve right there. Then
But you gotta make sure that valve is closed, otherwise.
yeah, otherwise you're gonna put water in the system. So
You're gonna get fired.
Yeah, if you want to test it yourself, yeah. Well, no, you'll just fill the system up. Then you have to go in there and pull the heads out and drain the system out.
Drain each
Because you
one.
can't have water in the system. That's why you got this valve, so you can bypass that. You can close it, so if you do trip it, it's only gonna go to here and out the drain. So, that's what the 5-year guys do. Sometimes you'll see they'll put a valve up here, so you'll fill that much pipe with water, because they want to hear the flow go off. Well, that's what this one's for, right here. You hit this, it does the flow switch for the water flow.
Okay.
So you could actually just pull that one up, you'll circle water through the flow switch, you'll get your alarms, you make sure your bells and whistles work.
So that mean, right now, IT inside the pipe is no water.
It's all air.
dry.
25 pounds of air.
Okay, and the MRI too.
Yep.
And then what about the floor? The floor is got the water,
Oh,
right?
these heads are all water,
Okay.
so,
So this is just for those areas?
just for
Data
those
center?
rooms, yep.
They
For
just
your
want
high
to
priority.
make sure if you have a sprinkler activation, you need water in there, you need water.
You want water in there, all you have to do is come over here and, where's the, oh, it's right here. You just pull this one down, and it pops the cylinder. Cause that's what,
Otherwise it's smoke?
yeah, so you pull this handle right here, it manually pops the solenoid. So you get water like that. Say your smoke's not working, boom, it releases everything.
So it'll fill the pipe or it'll dump?
Well, if your head's broke
It'll dump.
and your smoke's not doing anything, and you want water in there, you hit that. If the head's not broke, you're only gonna fill the
But that
pipe.
water slam, it should be all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's in the case of emergency, like
It should never be
power's
doing that.
out, yeah. You don't use that for testing. That's just,
I'm surprised.
you could if you close this valve, because it's only gonna go to here. But you don't need to test that. Then,
So this is strictly the smoke alarm that activates it?
no, smoke and air. Like I said, it needs both for water to flow.
But not the heat detector?
No, that would be a triple interlocking. Or they substitute the heat for a smoke, you know.
Can other fumes activate that?
Yeah, anything, you know, rotor hammering can set it off. Dust from the rotor hammer can set it off.
Dust, steam?
Yep. But like I said, you know,
It's not likely, but it's...
well, that's why it's double interlocked, to where you're up there drilling or you're blowing off dust and you set off the smoke. Boom, solenoid, you're gonna get a solenoid pop, you're gonna get an alarm saying that this has been tripped. And you'll get the water going through the priming line. And then you come over here and all you do, close this valve, close it, open the drain up, bleed all the air off of it, reset the whole cabinet.
So it could be manually stopped.
Yep.
What's the time factor for that?
Well, you'll get this beeping. and then your alarm panel will say that smoke went off. And then you can reset the panel. If it didn't trip the valve and you come over here and you don't hear no water, just reset your panel. Resetting your panel resets the solenoid. And then just come over here, like right now I got it, all I do is reset, should go right back into.
But is there a time factor?
No. There's a testing procedure you have to do. You have to hit the water velocity for 25 seconds or something like that. But you guys never have to do that one again.
Because when we had a computer backup Halon system.
Halon's totally different.
Back, we had 30 seconds to.
Yeah. FM 200, Halon, all those. They're a deluge system. There are no glass bulbs in that. That is all time. It's a dry chemical agent. It's a gas. This is putting water out.
Different animal.
Yeah, different animal. They got Halon over there?
Oh, no, that was when I was up there.
No, I've done Halon. You know.
I think that's supposed to be lost.
The last time I did Halon was in the 90s.
No one's supposed to be
Last time I did Halon. It was at Cotton Gin, the Shimbos, 97 bottles.
So that way they know someone's in the premises.
He just put it in the test.
Well, the thing is, I think that's supposed to be, that should be locked, I don't know.
Perfect.
Well, you're supposed to badge.
All right.
So pre-actions, you're never really gonna have to do anything unless you get a low air. And then you just come over here and then just like I said, there's a button on here that you can hit the compressor, turn the compressor on, turn it off. Other than that, it should be around 20 pounds.
And the two devices, the dual interlocks are?
The heat, the smoke and the air. That's it.
It won't do it automatically on the low air, it won't fill it up automatically?
No, it will. I'm just saying, if you get a low air, that means the compressor didn't kick on for some reason. Did somebody come over and turn it off? Did it burn out? Did it fail, you know? So the way you check it would just be to come over here and.
I'm so sorry.
Anything I need to worry about?
Got a switch right here?
We're just reviewing the system that's going
Air
to see.
compressor?
Gotcha.
Turn it on. Turn it on. If it doesn't come on and you're at low pressure, you got a problem.
Water to me?
Then all you have to do, close this valve and just open that drain up,
At least it's
bleed the air off,
it's never
and see if it
clean
comes
water.
on. If the compressor doesn't come on, and you turn this on, turn it off, the compressor's probably bad. So that's how you can test the compressor.
Okay. So even though it does automatically, it'll still print out on your...
No, that will never. That's like the jockey pump.
Okay. I got you.
The compressor is just a maintenance device. It just keeps the air on there because, you know, the air is going to come off of the systems, just like water is going to come out of the systems from hot and cold expansion. You're going to get fluctuations in pressure. That's why the jockey and the compressor are just to maintain it.
Gotcha.
So in theory, the only reason why you should drop air is if the head's open,
Yep.
correct? So that would be fire that melts the glass
Yep.
that opens the head.
Your low air is something's popped.
Right.
Or somebody opened a drain, or your compressor failed.
Okay.
That's it. So, and you'll get the alarm up there. It'll say low air. And it should just be an auditory. It won't be the bells and whistles.
And that's on the main simplex panel?
Well, you'll hear that beeping here too.
Yeah.
It'll, and that's pretty annoying.
Just like it before.
Yeah, it'll do the same thing for low air.
On the simplex panel?
Huh? No, up there, I don't know what it does. Here, you'll hear that beeping, and that'll tell you that you got low air.
But it is communicating with the simplex
Yeah,
panel.
this
So
is wired in.
it'll roll the trucks. If this thing goes off, it should roll the trucks.
Yep, this is also tied into your Vesta system too. I think your Vesta's over, and that's got that's the MRI room. I didn't do much with that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it has a different type, it has an air tester line right into there. That's in the other side.
Okay. An MRI mechanical.
I believe this one, I did pin the key for that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so no one goes in and starts
Yeah, yeah,
messing with
yeah. This one, yeah.
that. Richard, you didn't do it already?
What about the lock
This
for
was on
this
the
door?
list.
Like, do we have a key for that?
The keys are right here.
Let's lock that. Let's lock that in.
If you got the keys now, you can do whatever you want. If you leave them in there, because they get lost. I leave them in there, you guys lock them up, do whatever.
So remember, guys, all the things that are associated with this device, because you could have a problem with HVAC, right? The Vesta system's locked out, why isn't the HVAC coming on? Why isn't it coming on? You know, you rack your head, well, what's associated with that air handler? You might want to check here.
I don't know too much about where the Vesta is going. I think it's the MRI room is where it
No, I'm gonna give it to you.
That was like a last minute thing they had us tie it into. And they want to do a test with, I think you're killing your computers and all that.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not here. Good luck, Dennis. They're actually
I'm
talking
here for that
about,
either, so.
they're actually talking about doing a full building drop, because they want
Yeah,
to see our
I saw
BMS
emails on
system,
that.
how it comes up with all the equipment from scratch, like,
You see, when that happens, your
Stone
fire
windows.
pump, if they're gonna drop, your backup generators are gonna kick on, you're gonna go to your fire pump panel and you'll see it's on secondary power. Don't have to touch anything, it won't go off, the fire pump's not gonna kick on.
Right.
Because it's not sensing a pressure loss. But then, when it kicks back on, you'll see it switch back over.
Okay.
If you're in there, you might hear a big long, because the ATS kicks
Right.
over, so it drops that pound. So, that's about it. These are easy too. It used to be, back in the day, you saw the valves, that was all was in the riser and was just valves, they didn't have a
we
cabinet.
had that deluge system, I think you've seen, you have to be careful with it, because if you set it off,
Yeah. Oh, well, dry systems are way different. Dry systems don't have that. You lose the air, water's going.
Yep.
It's not a pre-action.
we had the MRI trailer parked right there in front of the ED, and we always had concerns that the pressure coming out might just drop it
Over
off.
at Stockton Prison, the FSS building, which is the medical portion of it, we got a 6-inch dry valve at like the opposite end of the building, and the feed main runs all the way through the hospital to the outside canopies.
6-inch line.
6-inch line, so, you know, when we hit that, it sounds like a locomotive just ripping the building, because that water's going like that, and, you know, we go there.
Yeah, man.
We go there, all we did was we put a valve up there, so you just open the valve, the ball valve, simulate a head go off, and you just see the whole system rattle. And it's braced, I mean, we got 4-way braces every 30 feet, so it just shakes everything, I mean, that's why I say, don't ever just open your valves up, that's a lot of pressure.
So you get the dust off of it, right?
Yeah, right.
Shake it off.
And on those, on dry systems, you have to have the water there in a certain amount of time, depending on the length of the run, the size of the pipe, you know, it's usually within 30 to 40 seconds, you know, or 25 for the smaller systems. You have to do that on here too, like this is a small system, you have to be there in 30 seconds, so, you know, just made it no problem.
So just to verify again, smoke detector goes off, it just basically gets ready for water.
Primes the solenoid.
Doesn't prime the line,
Nope,
just primes the solenoid.
primes the solenoid. Then air goes, releases the intermediate chamber, there comes the water. Then vice versa. Air comes out, releases the intermediate chamber, you'll get the priming line flowing, then the solenoid pops, releases the lower chamber, boom, there you go, water coming.
Both have to happen to
Both.
release water. And then it's millions and millions of dollars.
Because you just saw, you know, I just let the air out of it. I just let the air out of it and it didn't trip. Because I had the valve closed anyway, but you know, I still had 200 PSI underneath there and I dropped it down to 15 pounds of air pressure holding back that solenoid. So, they work. I mean, those chambers
Solenoid
work.
worked that time.
Yes. No, they work all the time. We tested this thing 12 times in one day, so, because they did every smoke sensor.
Okay.
We tripped it with every single one. So, this thing worked pretty good.
Right on. Yeah, Rich, you should probably get on that key.
No, man, I need to do it my way.
Especially when we take over the building. Still DPRs right now.
These are working good. So, at every floor, you have 2 risers, except for the penthouse. It's just got the one right there and a little one. But so if you have a leak or a head pop or something over here, you have to come close this valve and the other stairwell, same exact stairwell. Then you can just open up your drain. Now if you want to do the automatic start, you know, like you were talking about earlier, you can do it through here by opening this up to test. That simulates a 1/2-inch head going off.
Okay.
So you do that, you don't have to touch the fire pump, you'll hear the jockey pump kick on, so you'll know the pressure, and then it's not gonna keep up. And 30 seconds later, 30 to 90 seconds, you'll have a flow, but the fire pump's gonna kick on in like 8, 9 seconds. When you do that,
Does their fire pump have an automatic stop?
yeah, that's what I was saying, it'll run for 10 minutes,
10 minutes.
and then it'll sense the pressure, and it'll turn itself off.
Okay.
So if you do this, and it kicks on, you can close it, walk away, 10 minutes later, that fire pump will be turned off. We did every floor with the fire pump running. That's how we did our flows. You have to do it with the flows because you got a PLV on there. And the way those work is the pressure. So if you just go to city pressure, it won't push that open. So you won't get a flow.
Is that valve on a tamper or has it?
This one, no. Drains are never on a tamper. You can lock them closed if you want. You know, that's up to the hospital and stuff. You can drill a hole through here and put a chain around it and lock it up if you want. You know, a lot of hospitals do, especially when they're sterile. But most patients don't use the stairwells. It's only maintenance guys and stuff.
If
So
they did, we'd get notification the pump's running.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know right which floor because this one would be going off. You know, you get, I think they got these access stair 2, stair 1
Stair 2, stair 1.
device, yeah. So you know which one. But you'd probably get both flows because it is looped. So if they open this one up, you're gonna get a feed from that one because the pump's gonna be pushing up against this one, but you got more volume coming this way because it's going all the way across the system. So it's gonna push down on this one. So you probably won't get this flow, you'll get that flow. That was the problem we were having. I'd have to close the valve over there to get this one to go and vice versa. You know, until you get to the upper floors, they don't have PRVs on them, so it's equalized. So you got something knocking the pressure down and something not over there, and you know, it makes it harder for the flow switch to go off.
It's a good piece of information.
So these drains are piped into a drain system?
Yeah, down in the pump, yeah, right through that pumper.
All this goes that big, like 8-inch.
Where that dry bar,
Big open trap right there.
that's where this
Okay,
goes.
so all
Both
these
stairwells.
go right to that?
Yep,
Awesome.
both stairs are tied into it.
How
And
come
then,
how come no standpipe outlet?
the what?
Standpipe outlet for the fire department?
Right there.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, it's a big cap in the fire hose cabinets right there. So if you wanted to flow, you run a hose from there to there, and then you can do your flow test through the fire hose valve.
So the hookup is over there for the
Yeah,
fire department?
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
It looks like a hose cabinet, but it's just,
there's your fire hose cabinet.
Those are wet.
Yeah, that's wet,
yeah.
so,
There's nothing dry in this building, right?
just your pre-action room.
Yeah. All right, you got me. Actually, I got, yeah, you passed.
Putting standpipes in through the portals that go through the building so the firefighters can fight from the middle and outwards.
Yeah. A lot of times they want them in the stairs, but when they have vestibules like that, you have to be in the vestibule so you can get
Yeah.
150 feet on the hoses.
Yeah.
You got one on each side of the stairwell. Then when you're down in the basement, there's one in the vestibule right there, where the riser is, and then up on the penthouse, they're in the vestibule going through the wall.
Yeah, like I said, we'll put them in the middle between both buildings so they can fight from the middle outward to make sure all their hoses reach.
Most times they won't even do it.
We do our testing like we should.
They
Everything
won't
should
even
work
use the
perfect.
fire hose valve, they'll rather use their truck, whatever run it in from their truck. But, yeah, if you guys wanna lock those, you can drill through there. I've seen them do that, put a padlock,
Just a little chain.
so nobody can.
Thing.
Yeah.
Cable.
Yeah. Go all the way to the fully open.
You go 360, huh?
Yeah. Oh, no, just 180.
Oh, just one.
It'll dump.
Yeah,
all
so,
the-
but they do this, so you go right to your test orifice, and when you're testing the flow switch, you just go straight up and down, you're doing a half-inch orifice. For a full dump, all the way. Drains handle it, because we have to do a flow test with this on, fully open for your standpipe drains.
Ah, well, you know,
So they're all like
most,
that now, those?
Yeah,
drain valves?
all of them are like this. Because we used to do inspector's tests,
Uh-huh.
where you'd have one valve to the most remote head in the building, pipe to the outside, and you'd have to go over there and you'd open it up,
Yeah.
and then you do your flow test that way. Well, they did it now with the testing drains to where you can do it all right in one spot. And the bad thing about inspector's tests is you'd always have the gardener out there hooking up a hose pivot to the 1-inch outlet, and then they're watering their, or they're watering their trucks off and stuff like that. I get a flow every week, I don't know why, you know? They would do it. You were gonna say anything, you had a question?
Do you have to, is the end stairway has to be
It's identical.
identical?
Yeah.
Do both of them have to be drained?
Nope.
Just one?
You don't have, yeah.
Works for the whole floor?
Yeah, works for the whole floor.
All right.
Yep.
So that just drains this floor?
Yep. Yep. Every floor has its own riser, own setup. But like I said, you have to close this one and the one on the other stair because this is a looped system. It's all tied together. You know, it's not, in most hospitals, you'll just have one riser because it's a tree system. So it's just, that's it. This one you got looped, so you got water coming from both sides.
So when you close both on each
Then you
stairwell,
isolate this floor.
just this floor, and all the rest is still
Still
working?
live. So you never have to go close that one or this one or anything else. You go straight to the source. Water here, close this one, close that one. You only got 2 stairwells, so just make sure you go get them both. Just close this valve right here, and hit the drain. You can hit both drains to drain it faster. One's enough.
Right there, you know how many, the bucket we needed, you drink the whole system. I mean, the barrel right there downstairs, the cup.
Oh, they just left that there.
No, I mean, as long as you open this one, why
Oh,
you
yeah,
maybe need 3 or 4, then fill up the
Yeah.
water, right?
No, it drains into the drain.
Yeah,
You don't,
drain
there's
down.
nothing to
They-
catch.
I don't know whose barrel that is. That ain't ours.
He used that just to prime
For the-
the yard.
yeah, for the sensing line.
Okay,
If you
this
should-
one right here, straight,
Yeah.
just go to the drain.
Yeah, right there, they have
drain-
the 8-inch drain sticking up and the 3-inch pipes into it.
Okay.
It bleeds right into it. I don't know who left that barrel down there. That ain't mine. I just used it for the sensing
So
line.
can we use these in case there's like a leak that we, emergency, we gotta shut off a floor, we can just close these two?
Yeah, I mean, if that ever happens,
Right.
but hopefully.
No, I mean, instead of like the whole intricate valving system,
Right, yeah, and I think that's the purpose of this,
That's
is
the
to be able to
reason.
isolate a floor
Yeah.
yeah,
and still keep the
right?
rest of the building.
So we don't have to
active.
remember, close this, close that, turn this and
Let's
that.
put it this way, if you have to do any work on this floor, right, say you have a head, you just shut this valve, you shut that valve, you open the drains. You don't have to turn off your alarms or anything for that. When you go to fill it, you have to turn off your fire pump. Don't turn the jockey off, turn the fire pump off. Put your alarms in bypass because your flow switches are gonna go off. You got these two and you got one down there in the pump room too, so you're gonna have one flow down there and the one's up here. So that's all you have to do on filling. Any type of draining, you don't have to do nothing but close the valves. You'll get the audible tamper on your alarm panel in there saying somebody closed them, but that's just that little beep, 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 beep. When you fill it, this does your bells and whistles. All the strobes, everything goes off with that.
And that won't go off because we're down.
Draining.
Because you close this, the water's not going this way, it's
Right.
coming down,
Right.
so.
In draining, the water flow switch doesn't move. That's when you fill.
That's an important one, make sure that the pump is off, otherwise.
Otherwise,
You
you
open
hammer
it,
it.
yeah.
Well, if you open it slow, it ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, you can fill it. Technically, you could fill it with the
With
pump on.
pump, right. But it's good practice, you're saying.
To turn it off.
Yeah. Well, because the jockey pumps high pressure.
Yeah, the jockey
water,
pumps
so it
will
gets
fill it up faster.
Okay.
And anyway, when the fire pump kicks on, opening this valve up is kind of hard when it's dead stop. Because we're gonna have 200 behind it, But just, turn your pump off. It's the easiest thing to do. You can practice at it. And I do, when you do your pump test, if you're gonna do it, we just close that one valve. We'll go back down there and I'll show you again if you want, if you need.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
right
one
there,
that-
so you can get that.
Yeah,
loop
so
going.
you just go through the
Yeah.
loop, then you're not pressurizing all this.
Okay.
You'll only be pressurizing the standpipe. These here will go up, but this one here, if you notice, didn't go up.
We need to be in test when we.
Yeah.
Test, right?
Yep.
Whenever you run
Or
the pump.
else-
The minute you turn that pump on, fire department's rolling.
Okay.
So you'd open the bypass, close the output to the building, and just turn it.
See, why couldn't our, system in domestic be just as damn simple?
Oh, yeah, because our domestic hold is
Yeah,
freaking valves everywhere to secure one area on one
Yeah.
floor.
you gotta go to different floors.
Unless you're at the hospital in Eureka, they don't have any valves. And they have 2 big boilers. I was up there, we did the retrofit on their old hospital. And they didn't have anything in the walls, and they marked out where they wanted me to drill all my holes for the sidewall through the plaster walls. Well, there's one section of sheetrock. All I did was drill a pilot hole through there. My drill bit just went through the sheetrock and came out, sliced the copper tubing to the hot water line that was abandoned on the roof. I held my thumb on there for 2.5 hours and burned my thumb while they drained the entire hospital from the boiler room.
Oh, man.
So,
Because valves are expensive.
yeah. Well, that hospital was built in the 40s, so, there ain't nothing marked out there. Yeah. That guy couldn't believe I held my thumb there for 2.5 hours.
I used to spend a lot of time.
Burned up.
I used to spend a lot of time up that way. I've been up there a lot.
Yeah, we did the new hospital next to it, and they were supposed to tear the old one down, St. Joe's. Well,
Right, so now
There's
these
no
are
light.
Ford Drive, and then the ones in the front on Jackson are wet, right?
I don't
Okay, I
know,
see that.
I'm not sure.
right?
I never wanted to test them to find out. But I think the one that I
After-
myself,
Yeah.
why I like
So
the
this is
little
outside, those,
Yeah, that's
ones
what I
that
was-
the firemen hook up after the pump.
Yep.
You see the ones The going out to the wall? Should be. That's the one outside. And those are dry. So if the fireman needs to hook up, they're hooking us. They're pumping water into the system.
Using your own pumper truck.
Hey Dennis, what are they looking at? On
Oh, yeah.
79, the alley is dry standpipes, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the stairwell.
And the street, right, and the street though, on Jackson, one of the two hookups, that's wet, right?
No, those are dry.
Those are dry as well, so it's all dry. There's no wet hookup for the fire department on 79.
In the cabinet.
Cabinet,
Yeah, the hose cabinet. In the floors?
All the floor cabinet, those are wet.
Those are wet. It has our hoses on it. We're not supposed to have those hoses, but.
Right, but there's no from the street, the fire pumps can't connect to the building. There's no dry on this building. There's
No.
Right, no, I know there's no
It's
dry.
dry to right about here or so, you know, and that's it. That's
Right,
just
no,
where they pump into.
but, Tom, next door, there's no wet